Hey guys, last time we read the beginning of chapter 1. We did not finish chapter 1 because it's so much. But here I am to do the ending of chapter 1. And I'm just gonna start reading. I remember now that I stopped because, I saw that another introduction was gonna be made. So also this time I'm doing the coloring on a stable table, better said. And I think it worked out better, hopefully. Okay, so not gonna waste any more time here. I am going to get straight to it. Carlton, 30 years old, works for his father in a family textile business. He is not very good at managing other people and would much rather be doing something else. Carlton is caught in the subjugation life trap. Okay. Carlton is a people pleaser. He puts everyone's needs before his own. He is the one who always says, I don't care, you decide, when other people ask him what he wants. Carlton tries to please his wife by saying yes to everything she says and wants. He tries to please his children by never saying no. He tries to please his father by going into the family business, even though it means doing a job he does not like. Ironically, despite the fact that he tries so hard to please, other people often feel irritated with Carlton. He is so self sacrificing. His wife is angry that he has no backbone. Although the children take advantage of his permissiveness, at some level they are angry that he fails to set limits. His father is constantly annoyed with Carlton's weakness and lack of aggressiveness at work, particularly in dealing with employees. Although Carlton does not know it, he is angry too. Deep inside, he is angry about having denied his own needs for so long. This is a pattern he learned early in life. His father is considered a tyrant. He thrives by domineering and controlling others. Everything has to be his way. As a child, if Carlton disagreed or argued, his father spanked him and belittled him. His mother adopted a completely passive role. She was depressed much of the time, and Carlton often found himself in the role of caretaker, trying to make her feel better. There was no place he could go to get his needs met. Before coming to us, Carlton was in an experiential treatment called Gestalt therapy for 2 years. His therapist encouraged him to stay in the present and get in touch with his feelings. For example, the therapist had him try imagery exercises in which he would picture his father and practice talking back to him. This approach was helpful. He started to feel how angry he was. The problem was that the therapy lacked direction. It did not have a consistent focus. Carlton drifted from session to session, exploring whatever feelings were most prominent at the moment. Naturally, his anger at his loved ones kept surfacing, but he did not act on his feelings and he did not understand why. The therapist did not draw all the components of his problem together for him and then teach him specific change techniques to overcome his subjugation. I honestly have no idea if I'm pronouncing most of the things right, but bear with me, guys. Life Trap Therapy provided Carlton with a simple, straightforward conceptual framework that allowed him to see that subjugation was a primary theme running through his life, and he learned ways to change it. He made rapid progress. We often find that the subjugation life trap takes the least amount of time to break. Carlton developed a stronger sense of self. He became more aware of his own desires and feelings, which he had learned to suppress. He started developing opinions and preferences. He also became more assertive with his father, employees, and his wife and children. Particularly, he worked on expressing anger. He learned to state his needs in a calm and controlled manner. Although his wife and children put up some minor resistance at the beginning, once they recognized they were losing power, they soon settled down. In truth, they liked him better. They wanted him to be strong. He had a more difficult battle with his father. Although his father tried to squelch Carlton's rebellion and reassert his dominant position, Carlton discovered that he had more leverage with his father than he realized. When he threatened to leave the business if his father would not let him assume a more equal role, his father backed down. Carlton is now beginning to take over many of his father's responsibilities as his father prepares for retirement. He also discovered that his father has a newfound respect for him. This case illustrates the importance of going beyond getting in touch with our feelings. Many so-called experiential therapies such as inner child work provide a valuable role in helping us feel the links between what we experience in our daily lives today and what we felt as children. But these approaches rarely go far enough. Participants often feel much better after therapy sessions or workshops, but they usually drift back to their old patterns quickly. The LifeTrap approach provides structured, behaviored homework assignments and continual confrontation to help you maintain progress. The cognitive therapy revolution. LifeTrap therapy is an outgrowth of an approach called cognitive therapy, developed by Dr. Aaron Beck in the 1960s. We have incorporated many aspects of this treatment into the LifeTrap approach. The basic premise of cognitive therapy is that the way we think about events in our lives, cognition, determines how we feel about them, emotions. People with emotional problems tend to distort reality. For example, Heather was taught by her mother to view everyday tasks, such as riding a subway, as dangerous. Life traps lead us to view certain kinds of situations in an inaccurate manner. They push our cognitive buttons. Cognitive therapists believe that if we can teach patients to become more accurate about the way they interpret situations, we can help them feel much better. If we can show Heather that she can travel on her own without much danger, then she will be less frightened and can begin living again. Dr. Beck suggests that we examine our thoughts logically. When we are upset, are we exaggerating, personalizing, catastrophizing, etc.? Do our thoughts really make sense? Are there other ways to look at the situation? Further, Beck says we should test our negative thoughts by performing little experiments. For example, we ask Heather to walk around the block alone during the winter to see that nothing harmful would happen to her, even though she was convinced she would get sick or be mugged. Cognitive therapy has gained wide respect. A large growing body of research supports its effectiveness with such disorders as anxiety and depression. It is an active approach that teaches patients to control their own moods by controlling their thoughts. Cognitive therapists usually combine cognitive methods with behavioral techniques, which are designed to teach patients practical skills they may never have learned, such as relaxation, assertiveness, anxiety management, problem solving, time management, and social skills. However, we have found over the years that cognitive and behavioral methods, while invaluable, are not sufficient to change lifelong patterns. Thus, we developed the LifeTrap approach, which combines cognitive and behavioral techniques with psychoanalytic and experiential techniques. Madeline, the final patient we will discuss in this chapter, demonstrates both value and limitation of using only cognitive behavioral methods. Madeline. A 29-year-old actress and singer, she was sexually abused by her stepfather and continues to suffer the effects. Madeline is still playing out the mistrust and abuse life trap. Madeline has never had a long-term relationship with a man. Instead, she has gone from one extreme to the other. Either she has avoided men altogether or she has been promiscuous. Until she went to college, Madeline avoided boys. She never dated or had a boyfriend. Madeline takes the mic. I never let a guy near me. I remember the first time A boy kissed me. I ran away. When I sensed that a boy liked me, I acted really cold until he went away. In her, well, I'm just gonna keep reading now. In her first 2 years of college, Madeline started drinking and doing drugs. During this period, she had sex with more than 30 men. None of them meant anything to me, she says. Now, Madeline takes the mic again. I went wild in college. I slept around. There was one fraternity where every guy in there had slept with me. I was miserable. I felt cheap and dirty. I felt used. I just couldn't say no. I would go out with a guy and end up sleeping with him, even though I had promised myself I wouldn't. I figured it was the only reason guys would go out with me. I really don't know why I did it. That whole time was just like running out of control. Okay, well, she's done talking. The experience of sexual abuse by her stepfather damaged her sexuality and capacity for intimacy with men. For her, sex and abuse are inextricably mixed. Now Madeline is back to avoiding men. She has not dated in many years and is worried that she will never be able to marry and have children. The first treatment Madeline tried was conventional cognitive therapy. Her therapist focused on the present, on Madeline's current avoidance of men. It was rare, for example, for Madeline to discuss her childhood in therapy. Instead, she and her therapist designed homework for her to do between sessions, such as striking up conversations with men or going to parties. The therapist helped her fight her distorted thoughts, such as men are only out for sex, by asking her for examples of men she knew who were caring and wanted intimacy. Therapy went on for several months. Madeline began to date again, but she was drawn to abusive men. Although she recognized that many men were considerate, her experience with boyfriends did not bear this out. Madeline realized she needed something more to change her deeply ingrained pattern. Madeline takes the mic. I felt like my therapist was asking me to change without understanding why I was the way I was. I mean, I know I have to change in the ways that she said. I have to start trusting men and avoiding closeness. But there are reasons why I avoid men. I need to understand what they are. Madeline became angry at any men who seemed to approach her romantically. She could see that the anger was the result of distorted thoughts, but she still felt it. Madeline needed to direct her anger towards its true object, her stepfather. She needed to express her anger and have it validated. During the first year and a half of LIFETRAP therapy, we helped Madeline to uncover her memories of abuse through imagery. We pushed her to ventilate her anger at her stepfather and to confront him with her accusations. We encouraged her to join a support group for survivors of incest. We also showed her how she maintained her pattern of abuse by selecting abusive boyfriends. Madeline slowly resumed dating. Although she was still attracted to abusive men, she stayed away from them at our instance, focusing instead on men who treated her respectfully. Even though the chemistry was less intense, she worked on demanding respect rather than leaving it to the man to give it to her. She learned to say no. About a year later, she fell in love with Ben, a gentle, sensitive man. Even with him, however, she experienced serious sexual inhibition. Ben was willing to work with her to overcome her sexual difficulties. She is now considering marriage. In Chapter 16, we will provide many suggestions for changing the mistrust and abuse life trap. However, we want to emphasize that many life traps, mistrust and abuse in particular, take a long time to change and should be approached with the help of a therapist or support group. Madeline's treatment illustrates how life trap therapy retains the practical focus of cognitive and behavioral therapies. It builds skills and makes change, but we are interested in more than short-term behavior modification. We also want to address lifelong issues, especially difficulties in relationships, self-esteem, and career problems. We want to address behavior, but we also want to address the ways that people feel and relate. The next chapter begins with questionnaire to help you discover which life traps apply to you. So that was chapter 1, guys. Now I just want to take this moment because I have a little bit of space to talk to just remind you guys that this is for my therapy, but I am sharing it because I just think if it's something good and it's being shared, or like if I have something good, I should share it, better said. And it also motivates me way more than if I were to just not do it like this. So I have a lot of issues with discipline. I have a lot of issues with a lot of things, which is why I'm doing this. And which is why I'm also sharing it, because it's not necessarily I have one issue that I have to adjust. I have multiple, and I'm not saying like that's good or bad. I'm just saying that means that there's a chance that there might be someone out there who can relate, who can benefit from what I have to go through, which is just therapy, but it's a lot. So with that in mind, also remember that this is like therapy material. It's not meant to be easy, and you shouldn't do it alone. You should have someone by your side, but if by chance you don't, then I am here and you can follow me or my path, not follow me. But with what I'm reading and everything. Okay, now that was a weird comment, but I had to do it. And what I want to do right now is talk about just a little recap about the characters. So this book is also about the 11 most common life traps. I don't have the whole book, but I get sent like chapters here and there for the therapy sessions. And so far the characters, what I mean with 11 most common means that there is more. It's just these are the 11 most common, and it is a serious issue. It lets you struggle a lot with your life. But anyways, the characters recap: Jed, 39 years old, emotional deprivation life trap. And then we have Heather, is 42, vulnerability life trap. She fears a lot of things. Patrick is 35, abandonment life trap. BPD core, I don't know. Carlton is 30, subjugation life trap. When you do more for others than for yourself, you sabotage yourself for others. Madeline, 29, mistrust and abuse life trap. That's the one that encountered a sexual abuse. Now these are just examples, it may vary. For sure it would vary. That's the thing about mental health in general. In my opinion, it's a spectrum. There's symptoms, there's bullet points, but it differs per person, it's a beautiful and cruel thing. I really have no idea what else to say, but there's a minute left or less on this video, so I'm just gonna stall. Because at the end there's a picture. I mean, you can also just skip to the end, but I see my videos more like a podcast slash, because does that make sense? Because you can listen to it and not necessarily have to look, because it's all about the reading. Okay, I think I'll stop now because the timing is good enough. Jeez, when I stop reading I become so weird. Okay, I have too much time to talk. I'm sorry. Bye.